This is the first thing you want to do before you even think about casting your baitcaster. In this video, I'm going to show you how to cast a baitcaster. This is the first thing you want to do before you even think about casting your baitcaster. This right here is the spool tension knob. So when it comes to the spool tension knob, when you push this button here, your lure is going to fall. It should fall nice and slow. So basically, when you push this button, when your lure hits the ground, you will not bird's nest, and that's how you will know that it's set up properly. We're gonna crank this up a little bit. There we go. So your lure should fall relatively slow. This is too loose. Boom. So basically, I want to tighten this up a little bit. So ideally, you want your lure to fall about this fast. Not too fast, not too slow. See that? Because this will prevent bird's nests when you cast. You'll know that it's too loose if your spool moves like this. You can hear it, that's the spool moving left and right. So you wanna make sure it's tight enough to where it is not doing that. Just like that. If your spool tension knob is too loose, this is what will happen to your line and the spool. You see how it started wrapping around itself? And that is what you do not want. So we're gonna tighten it up. So like I said, this is the first thing you wanna do before you even think about casting your baitcaster. So that's perfect right there. Perfect falling speed. Most of the time, your brakes are gonna be located inside of this side plate here, but I have a Curado DC, so this is controlled by a digital chip braking system, so I don't have to worry about that. And when you cast these baitcasters, you wanna make sure that you feather the spool with your thumb when you cast. You don't just wanna cast and let go like that. Cast, feather. So you saw that I had my thumb on the spool pretty much the whole time it was going out. If you're a beginner, I would recommend keeping your thumb on the spool until you feel comfortable enough taking your finger off of the spool. And right before your lure hits the water, you want to make sure your thumb is on the spool. When you're going to cast, you want to make sure your bait is about 8 inches to a foot off of the tip of your rod. So just like that. You don't want to cast it way down here, but ideally you want about 8 inches to a foot hanging off from the tip of your rod. The two techniques you're going to want to use when you start using a baitcaster is the overhand cast and the sideways cast. So I would recommend you guys start off with the side hand cast like that. It's the best way to learn how to use a baitcaster, because if you do start doing overhand, you can mess it up and not be used to it and just go like boom, just like that. And it's a good way to get a bird's nest, just like I just did. See, look at that, bird's nest. Pull it out. The most important thing you want to know when you start using a baitcaster is that spool tension knob. That's the one thing you're going to want to make sure you adjust every time you switch your lure. There's a lot of benefits to using a baitcaster, but in my opinion, the most important reason you should get a baitcaster is because they're fun to use. Boom. You always want to make sure you have your thumb on the spool when your lure is gonna hit the water. We got some plants. We caught some plants there, Johnny boy. One of the reasons why baitcasters are so intimidating is because everybody says they're so difficult to use, but honestly, they're very, very easy to use. So if that's one of the reasons you are not using a baitcaster, just get a baitcaster because they are very easy to use and well worth it. Let me know down in the comments whether you prefer baitcasters or spinning reels. Thanks for watching, guys.